In this tutorial, we'll learn how to use Microsoft Graph API to automate Microsoft ToDo App in Python. Microsoft ToDo is a task management app by Microsoft that allows users to create to-do lists, set reminders, and organize tasks. The ToDo app integrates with other Microsoft products like Outlook for streamlined task management. This is going to be a beginner-friendly tutorial. I'll cover every single step from setting up an Azure app all the way to putting together a Python script to return to-do list items. Before diving into the tutorial, make sure that you have an Azure account and also have an active subscription. An Azure subscription is a billing and management container that allows you to use and access Azure resources and services. And it is also where you can track your usage for different Azure services. Now, first you want to open your browser and navigate to Azure's portal by going to portal.azure.com. Now, to create a subscription, on the top, you want to search for subscriptions. And click into subscriptions and click on add and follow the instructions to simply create an Azure subscription. Next, we need to create an Azure app. An Azure app, typically referred to as an Azure App Service, is a fully managed platform for building web applications. You can think of Azure App as the gateway to connect to a variety of Microsoft services like Power BI, Power Automate, Microsoft 365, and many other Microsoft services. To create an Azure app, on the top, you want to search for App Registrations. Now click on New Registration. Here I want to give our Azure app a name. And I'll name the app MS ToDo API Demo. Now for the supported account types, we want to make sure that we choose the third option, accounts in any organizational directory, any Microsoft Intra ID tenant, multi-tenant, and personal Microsoft accounts, such as Skype, Xbox. And the reason why we need to choose this account type is because when we are using Microsoft Graph API, we are actually connecting to Microsoft services like Power BI, Microsoft 365, and a couple other more business-oriented services. Now, for the first two options, those tends to be more toward Azure-specific services. Now, the last one, personal Microsoft accounts only. So for this one, I can navigate this one to work. It could be permission issue, I don't know. But make sure that you choose the third option. And to obtain the token access or security token, want to provide an URI link. So here want to, from the dropdown, want to choose web. And assuming that we are creating an app locally for personal project or maybe for other purpose. So here I'm actually going to use a localhost address. So type HTTP localhost, and I'll set the port to 5000. Then click on register. And once the Azure app is created, we now need to create an API access key. In the navigation pane, click on Certificates and Secrets. Now here, click on New Client Secret. Here you can give your secret a description. You can also set the expiration. And I'll leave everything as default. Then click on Add to create the client secret. Now here we have two values, value and secret ID. So secret ID is basically client ID, and client value is going to be the actual client secret. Now I'm going to create a blank Python script. And I'll name the file app.py. And here, let me go ahead and open the file. Now, for demonstration purpose, I'm actually going to just copy the client secret in my Python script. Alright, so I'll name the variable client secret. The next step is to add the permission set to grant the app to perform certain tasks. In this case, we want the app to be able to interact with the ToDo API. Now here in the navigation pane, we want to click on API permissions. So by default, you're going to have this user.read permission set, which allows the app to read the user's profile. Now I want to click on add a permission, then click on Microsoft Graph, then click on delegated permissions. Now here I want to search for tasks. So this is the permission set to be used with Microsoft ToDo apps. Now if I expand this, so here we have 4 different levels of permission set. Now for demonstration purpose, I'm going to choose this tasks that read-write permission set. Then add a permission to the app. At this point, we're basically ready to create a script to interact with the ToDo app. Now click on Overview. Alright, so here I'm going to launch my terminal, and we're going to install the Python packages to communicate with Microsoft Graph API. Now to use Microsoft Graph API, we can use the regular requests or HTTPX library to make a GET request. And to authenticate the access, which is basically generating the token ID, we need to use the official Microsoft MSAL Python package. And this package is used to perform Microsoft Azure authentication. Now for this program, I'm going to use MSAL and HTTPX, these 2 libraries, and enter. And once the libraries are installed, we need to go back to the Python script. Now here I'm actually going to delete this line here. Actually, let me put that back. I'm going to create a main function, and it's going to be the entry point to execute the script. Now inside the main function, I'm going to define the Azure App metadata. So here we need to provide the client secret, the authorized URL. So this URL is where Microsoft Graph API is going to use to generate the authorization code. So here the client ID is actually the app ID, not the client secret ID. So this will allow people to get confused. Now go back to the console. Now here I want to copy the application ID. Now for the authority URL, the address is going to be login.microsoftonline.com/consumers. And for the scopes, it's going to be tasks.read-write. If you're not sure what scope to use, or if you're not sure the ID of the scope, you can go back to API permission sets. Actually, it's going to be the ID value here. Now to connect to the Azure app, here I'm going to create a function, and I forgot to import the libraries. Let me go ahead and import the libraries. Now here I'm going to use web browser to open the web page to display the authorization code. In terms of making the HTTP request, I'll be using HTTPX library. And from MSAL, I'm going to import the confidential client application class. Now here from this function here, create confidential client, we're going to provide client ID, client secret, and this should be the app ID. But usually I don't know why in Azure they named as client ID as well. And the authority URL. Now here let me go ahead and create the app object. And here I'll use the create confidential client function, and I'll pass the client ID, client secret, and authority URL. Now to generate the token access, I'm going to create another function called getAccessToken. And this function will take the app object and the scopes. So when we reference the app object, in this case will be coming from the app argument, we can use the get authorization request URL function to generate the URL that containing the authorization code if the permission sets are valid. And the permission sets will be determined by the scopes argument. Now here, let me just give you an example. Right, because I'm not returning anything from this function here, so I'm going to call the get access token, and I'll pass the app object and the scopes. Then I'll run the main function. Now let me go ahead and run the script. Now for the first time when you're authenticating the app, you're going to see this page here. This is where the app needs you to grant permissions to let the app to have access to these three things. So I want to click on accept. And once the access is authorized in the URL, you're going to see this code right here. So this is the authorization code. And here's the redirect URL. And here I'm going to copy this code right here. Then we're going to pass that to this input function, and this will be the authorization code. Then we can pass the code to another function called acquire token by authorization code. Then this function will create the token. Then this function will create the access token. All right, so let me put that back. Now going back to line 30, I'm going to save the output as access token. Now just in case, if there are no access token generated, we want to insert if function to check if the access token variable is empty. And once we have the access token, we can now go ahead and communicate with the ToDo app. Now let's say I want to create a simple function to list all my to-do lists. So in this case, it's going to be these 4 items plus some of the default to-do lists created by Microsoft ToDo App. And to do that, so here I'm going to create a function called get to-do list. From this function, we're going to pass the access token. Then we're going to make a get request. So for the headers, we need to pass the authorization key. Then we're going to pass the access token. And to get the to-do list, so we need to take the response object .json.get, and the list is going to be in the value key. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to call the get to-do list function, and I'll pass the access token. And I'll name the output as to-do list. And here let's print the to-do list here. And also print the first record. Then I'm going to iterate each item and print the to-do item's name. So like grocery, YouTube to-do list, my shopping list, and so on. All right, so let's give it a try. So I'm going to run the script. Now, because the API remembers that I already authenticate the access, so it's not going to ask me to grant permission to the app again. And here I'm going to copy this authorization code, and I'll put that in the terminal and enter. Now it's going to print the response. So this chunk here is the output from to-do list object. And here's what the record looks like. So we have the tag ID, display name, so this is the to-do item name, its owner, its shared, and a couple other properties. Then we have this list coming from the loop itself. So the first item and the last item, those are created by the ToDo app by default. And those two are the system to-do lists. And the rest are the to-do lists that created by me. All right, so this concludes this tutorial. And for now, I'm just going to show you how to get started. And I'll be making a follow-up video to show you how to do different things with the ToDo App's API. But for now, this is everything. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give this video a like and click on the subscribe button. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.